Hi, guys. It is September 5, 2021. All right, this video is going to go through a lot of articles. I'm just going to, read the headlines of most of them, but it'll give you a good indication of the condition Americans are in, the majority of Americans. And considering what we are facing, even in this month, I am listening to, reading articles about how our economy is done. Oh, things are not going to be good. And when you have a populace that is not in good physical, mental, cognitive, spiritual shape, moral shape, then you are, well, when bad circumstances continue to mount, that population goes crazy. And I do think it's coming very shortly. So, land of the worried. 83% of Americans stressed over nation's future. Depression surges. Well, of course it would. You pull the plug on everybody's life, they're going to be depressed. Put a mask on, don't go out, you can't work, you can't bring in an income, you're non-essential. That was drilled into us. Close down your business. Too bad for you. Stay home, socially isolated, you're going to be depressed. Americans are the unhappiest they've been in 50 years. Now, these articles are recent. I think there's one 2018, but the majority 2020 and 2021. Depression has skyrocketed during the COVID-19 pandemic. Study says, yes. Well, we're now facing another health crisis, a mental health crisis. They did all of this to keep us safe, to keep us well, and we're not well. We've actually declined rapidly. Physically, mentally, spiritually, morally, and cognitively. I don't understand why Americans can't see the measures, restrictive measures, to protect us from, that flu. Caused an awful lot of problems. Why can't you see that it's deliberate? Why are Americans so angry? Why? Geez, let me think. Now, without everything taking place with our economy, with the pandemic, with the closure of schools, all of it, absent that, they could still create all of these emotions with the electromagnetic frequencies that we are saturated in today. But then add on all that I just absented, and you have, unfortunately, a soup that has been boiling forever, and it's burned, and it is just not too tasty. Millennials, Gen Zers, stressed all the time. No kidding. So, Americans continually face higher prices at a time when they don't have the resources. Homeowners face the biggest property tax hikes in 4 years. 16 counties nationwide, homeowners pay more than $10,000 a year in property taxes. But state and local governments, they facing a cash crunch. I thought they were rescued by our federal government. I thought they were handed an awful lot of money. An awful lot. In fact, Pelosi handed herself, for San Francisco, a wow amount. And yet San Francisco raised property taxes. So the cash crunch, passing the pain on to the homeowners. Higher property taxes. property taxes increased faster than average in 55% of the 220 metropolitan areas. Most notable increases: Salt Lake City up 11.4%. That's a huge increase. San Francisco up 11.1%. Seattle 10.3%. Atlanta 10.2%. Other cities that saw property taxes rise more than 10% between 2019 and 2020: San Jose, San Diego, and Tampa, Florida. New Jersey had the highest effective property tax rate at 2.2%, followed by Illinois at 2.18%, Texas 2.15%, Vermont 1.97%, Connecticut 1.92%, Hawaii has the lowest, 0.37%, Alabama 0.44%, and 16 counties nationwide where homeowners pay more than $10,000 in property taxes. That's not good. Anger and panic as Pilsen, is that Pilsen in Illinois? Landlords scramble to appeal skyrocketing tax assessments. 58% of homeowners in the 25th ward, which includes Pilsen, saw higher property tax bills this year compared to 2020, but more than 93% of commercial owners in the ward were hit with tax hikes. Oh my God. Commercial owners who had to close down last year trying to recover, and now you're hit with more taxes. Don't you love what our government officials do to us? Americans face a nightmare scenario: record high home prices, record high rents. Millions of Americans will soon be living under a bridge as both house prices and rents skyrocketing at a record pace. Geez, do you think this is happening deliberately? Why have the landlords not gotten the money from the American Rescue Plan, the other one, billions, $43 billion, still apparently just has not been divvied out to the landlords? All right, well, we have that eviction coming up. That's going to, that eviction ban moratorium, the lift of it, we are looking at, oh my God. So Goldman Sachs sees 750,000 evictions in the United States. That's just for this year. Then it's 3.5 million in the coming year. You could lose your apartment. People are losing their homes. And we are looking at, well, America, why is it so angry? Why has the anger been increasing annually? We're looking at a whole lot of anger coming up. Suburban residents risk losing homes over rising pension costs. Illinois, I believe. Chicago, right. Hyde Park. Because the cost of generous government retirement packages has grown faster than existing government revenues can sustain, property taxes continue to climb. For 2 decades, the property taxes in a residential area, which is still, Hyde Park neighborhood in Chicago, a massive 65% increase. Sorry, Americans. You get screwed all the time, and you bend over and take it. Some leave and go to, a state that has maybe reasonable property taxes, though, all we have done, my entire lifetime, The one thing that I could say was a constant, all governments growing and growing and getting bigger and bigger. That's it. So the wheels come off, and they are coming off as economic growth craters. New York Fed suspends its GDP tracking model. Catastrophic jobs report just came in. Consumer confidence plummeting. And contraction in retail sales, big. All of the people that I listen to on YouTube, those who are in, the financial field, they're all pretty much saying the same thing. It's done. It's done. The economy, it's the only thing that they do is prop it up. Massive bubble. They keep, injecting this cash printed. Well, I don't even know if it's printed. I'm sure they just do it digitally from the Fed until they're ready to burst that bubble. That's when we're going to find out. Oh, okay. So, yeah, I want to hear the good jobs report. Huge job miss. They expected 750,000 jobs in August. The creation of. It's not even a creation of. The jobs, these monthly jobs, are the jobs that were closed down, and now they're reopening. We don't create anything here. A country that does not create, does not manufacture, does not produce, that country is not long for. You want to see the jobs that was for August? Leisure and hospitality and government. Jobs added by industry. July 2021 to August 2021. Hardly any construction. In fact, there was a loss of construction. Temp help, loss. Retail trade, a huge loss. Wholesale, bit of a gain. Financial activities. Look, okay, I've been saying, along with a lot of people, we're a service sector economy now. That's it. Leisure and hospitality. Bartenders, waiters, and government getting bigger and bigger and bigger all the time. All the time. Some manufacturing, but oh no, there was a loss. Okay, the black is August and the pink is July. Oh shit, I read that wrong. Well, it's still, you are seeing just a massive increase in our service sector economy and government. And when you have many in your population and their employer is government, you can kiss the country goodbye. The U.S. is dancing drunkenly from one massive self-indulgence to the next. In a week in which it became clear, to some, in markets that China is serious about the Marxism that decries capitalism as limitless but feckless, reckless, and all hands on deckless, the U.S. appears determined to show Marxists their criticism is bang on the Das Capital. Indeed, while China prepares to gird its loins to step up to extreme competition with a fading Rome, the U.S. empire goes the way of Rome. The U.S. seems to be dancing drunkenly from one massive self-indulgence to the next in togas, fiddling as things burn, and marrying horses. In other words, dancing on the Titanic, because it's all about to blow up. Bank of America warns only the biggest ever bubble is delaying a catastrophic recession. And when they're ready to burst that bubble, they will. So I like Charles U. Smith of Two Minds. The illusion of stability, the inevitability of collapse. That's what Americans live. They live an illusion of stability. They don't want to even recognize that when they are ready to burst the bubble, they will. They don't recognize that they live in the country of the house of cards. And one blow, all the cards come down. Imagine being at a party celebrating the vast wealth generated in the last 10 months in stocks, cryptocurrencies, real estate, and just about every other asset class. The lights flicker briefly, but the host assures the crowd the generator powering the party is working perfectly. Just go on partying. Being a skeptic, you slip out on the excuse of bringing in more champagne, and pay a visit to the generator room. To your horror, you find the entire arrangement held together with duct tape and rotted 2x4s. The electrical panel is an acrid-smelling mess of haphazard frayed wire, and the generator is overheated and vibrating off its foundation bolts. Whatever governor the engine once had is gone. It clearly won't last the night. The party is the U.S. economy, and the generator room is the Fed, its proxies, and the U.S. Treasury, all running to failure. What we're experiencing in real time is just an illusion of stability and the inevitability of collapse. Now, there are millions of Americans who have been that illusion shattered because they're no longer stable. But it's coming to everyone when the collapse occurs. So workers, American workers, they're not coping very well. Anxiety, stress, PTSD skyrocket. But, we've got an awful lot of problems. So crops close to finish line. Oh, now we have army worms threatening yields. And this is Boone County, Missouri. Many parts of Missouri. Prime farmland. Now they have army worms killing off their crops. Then think about all of the farmers who have been destroyed by drought and floods. Farmers, ranchers face tough decisions as drought continues. Extreme weather devastates corn, soybean, avocado production, sending prices skyrocketing. It's not just skyrocketing on corn and avocados. Corn is essentially in everything. That's why we're going to see food prices are already skyrocketing. Everything is going to skyrocket. Everything. Mega drought threatens crop yields in America and global grain inventories. Even global. Well, We're looking at food shortages. It's already happening. If you've not noticed in your grocery stores, then check out. Do a search on YouTube. Grocery store shelves empty. You will see how empty. And this is all over the country, how empty grocery stores are. So it's funny that we always have money for war, but we hardly have any money for anything else. The Ida flood damage won't be covered by insurance for many Americans. Oh, wow. Okay. So many don't have flood insurance because these floods, especially up north, northeast, not in floodplain territory. They've lost their home. Insurance, well, you can fight like hell, but that's what you have to do. So you've been stripped of everything because, the things that are in your home are no longer usable. You throw them out. You can't live in your home. And then you fight, sometimes for years, with your insurance company, hoping to get what you paid into, right? No, that's not how American insurance companies work. It's not how American companies work. But storms pound Midwest crops, farms. We are not in good shape. Ida piles on climate threat to U.S. food supplies. Oh, it's very true. So, let me just go back to the cost of war. I'll read just one paragraph of an article, but this is the study coming out of Brown University. And here, Brown University's Cost of War Project released a report saying that the total budgetary costs and future obligations of the U.S. post 9/11 wars, $8 trillion in current dollars. The figure includes more than $2.1 trillion spent by the Pentagon, $1 trillion in interest payments, $2.2 trillion on future health care obligations through 2050. The report also found nearly 1 million people have been killed in U.S. wars. Was it worth it? Look what's happening in Afghanistan right now. Was it worth it? No. But who benefited? A whole lot of the quote-unquote elite and that U.S. war machine, the military-industrial complex. Department of Homeland Security E-Verify authorizes thousands of illegal immigrants to work in the United States. Americans don't see that we don't have a constitution anymore, that our presidents violate the Constitution all the time, executive orders, they write legislation, they change legislation. That's not their job, it's Congress's, but presidents have been doing it. Departments are rogue, doing whatever the hell they want. Well, you ignore to your own demise. U.S. government giving permits to gangs coming across the border to sexually traffic children. We've known that, but I just thought, hey, reminder might be good. Study over half of migrants on American taxpayer-funded welfare. Bend over and take it. Welfare use for immigrants and native-born households, and this is the study that you can check out for yourself. How about that grid? We're constantly being reminded of how weak it is, how vulnerable it is to catastrophic failure. Remember that Cyber Polygon, World Economic Forum, had a simulation back in July, was it, I think? And that simulation, Klaus Schwab said it would make, well, this is a paraphrase, it would make COVID-19 pandemic look like a walk in the park. Our global grid goes down. And then life will get really exciting. But we are constantly reminded of this, and if the wind blows, boom, your power's out. They're getting people used to having, a grid that is not resilient. Well, it might be resilient, but there was a time when power outages weren't happening every time it rains and the wind blows. But now, well, check it out. And the trees are so weak. Yes, the geoengineering, all of the spraying of the nanoparticulates, the poisonous nanoparticulates of heavy metals and chemicals get into the root system of the trees, weaken the trees, and you get a little bit of wind and boom, on a power line, on a house, lots of destruction. Ignoring everything and remaining in denial was really not a good way to live. So here, self-care struggles. Many Americans haven't had a day to relax in more than 3 months. Try years. Oh, that music. Didn't you just want to sit back, sip wine, watch that video, which really is a video for those who still have. Those who don't, you're stressed out all of the time. Taking a bath doesn't necessarily relieve the stress. It might give you a moment of, all right, maybe I can chill a little or something, but no. When you become one of those who have just been knocked kind of off the edge, now you're living constant stress. None of that stuff works. And a lot of Americans are right there. Americans are just as anxious about money as they were 1 year ago. Here's how to manage the stress. How about, well, I know this is, going off into fantasy. How about bringing back a real free market, getting rid of government? Enough with the lockdowns and mask wearing and all of that. A whole lot of changes would need to take place, and that would alleviate an awful lot of stress. But when you put people into a chronic stressed circumstance, that's what they experience. Financial stress is a leading catalyst for suicide. These steps can help save lives. I will tell you what saves lives. having a support network of people that you can trust, count on, rely on, and opening up our economy's gone. See, it's hard to address any of these problems because, well, every problem is related to the next problem, and there's a whole lot of problems. But what's happening? Americans are stressed, worried, angry, intensified in 2018, intensified in 2020, and it really hasn't gone back to where it used to be decades ago. Stress in America 2020, a national mental health crisis. Unbelievable. How any American could scream at another American about, you're not, you're supposed to be at home, you're supposed to be on lockdown, you're supposed to social distance, how they could possibly think that any of these measures are protecting anyone, and how they could think that this pandemic is that serious that we have to throw Americans into worse physical, mental, spiritual health. It literally makes no sense. It's obvious, and that's where I'm like, okay, what's wrong with Americans? We are facing a national mental health crisis that could yield serious health and social consequences for years to come. What a surprise. Zombie nation, third of adults walking around in concussion-like days due to stress and lack of sleep. More than a third of people walking around with the same symptoms as concussion. And I think a lot of you have seen them. 31,000 people, a survey. Insufficient sleep, mental health problems, stress were the causes of a whole host of symptoms doctors are used to seeing in head injury patients. And the symptoms: persistent headaches, dizziness, anxiety, insomnia, loss of concentration and memory. A whole lot of Americans went to the emergency room for psychiatric care. Who is that? 40% of Americans don't recognize themselves in the mirror due to COVID stress. I don't recognize myself anymore. Well, I do, but I wish I didn't. Mothers and fathers report mental, physical health declines. So the measures, restrictive measures, didn't help anybody. They actually hurt. Millions upon millions. 1 year later, a new wave of pandemic health concerns. The bizarre refusal to apply cost-benefit analysis, to those debates about the lockdowns. Glenn Greenwald, good article. What about the costs? Well, the costs have outweighed the benefits, clearly, because we have an awful lot of people now requiring mental health support and killing themselves. But the most stressed out cities are Detroit, Michigan. What a surprise. All right, when was this? January 2020. Look at all of the flooding over and over and over and over within the last 2 months. People's homes getting flooded repeatedly. Detroit. Oh, yeah, more stressed now. Cleveland, Akron, Ohio. Seattle, Tacoma, Washington. Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. New Orleans. Nashville. Washington, D.C. Houston. Indianapolis. You can read all about it. But everybody's stressed everywhere, and I think we all know that. So we have a major problem now with Americans. Mental health issues increased significantly in young adults over last decade. And the past year, wow, the increase is really significant. Over a year later, a new wave, pandemic health concerns, COVID's heavy toll, depression, suicides, opioid overdoses increase. Yeah. You got to stay home. You got to close your business. You can't get an income. You are non-essential because we want to keep you safe. CDC reports lower drug overdose rates while suicides climb. Until we scale up intervention efforts at the community, state, and national levels, we will likely continue to see an increase in suicides in the United States. Oh, but CDC keep coming out with those guidelines that actually are causing people to kill themselves. Suicide attempts by children have spiked during the pandemic, especially among girls. Great, isn't it? 5 years ago, if a child younger than 13 arrived at, well, this is a Maine publication, but they have national statistics in here. Maine Medical Center for treatment following a suicide attempt. It was rare, notable, no longer. So what are we doing wrong here? That's the question. Increase is being driven largely by girls who experts say experience depression at higher rates than boys and may be more likely to seek help for self-inflicted injuries. Nationwide emergency room visits following suicide attempts by girls aged 12 to 17 spiked in 2020. Really good idea to close those schools. Now, I sure would like the schools to be different, but a whole lot of kids want to see their friends. They don't want to sit home 24/7 with mommy and daddy. And in fact, a whole lot of kids happen to be in homes where there is abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, neglect, domestic violence, and school is their escape from it. The boys experienced a 3.7%, and the number of girls who went to the hospital rose 51% from March 2019 to 2021. Maine experiencing the same upward trend. The corresponding increase in suicide deaths, not just attempts, in Maine or nationally, it corresponds with the increase. Survey finds Americans increasingly report having no close friends, especially younger men. Now that is sad. All right, I'm going to stop here, put up a part 2.